today so the first thing I need to do is just go through my to-do list, but what I want to do is just kind of tidy this to-do list up, because I think we achieved what we wanted to achieve, where this screen works, the map screen works, the building system works. Oh, it's my water. I'll get that in a bit. So I'm happy with this. Obviously, we need to do a big UI glow up, but at some point in the near future, what I'm going to do is just put on my UI design hat and have a kind of I'd like to have a clear runway to do that. So yeah, let's just double check all this is working. There might be a few things that are slightly wobbly, but should work for the main use case. So I've entered the game and I can press free play, where it sets me up. And at the moment I haven't unlocked any characters. Oh, there's this bit of wobble where for some reason that like it's not doing that what do you call it, like the hero buttons. So if we look at Randar, I'm getting used to calling him Randar instead of Sean. I think it's just a matter of this. So let me just try that. Let's see this. So why is it like... What do we have? Raycast target? No. Do we? No. Tooltip. So why is that only... So what I need to do at some point is do like an event system thing where I say, tell me what I'm pointing at. Because it's a bit weird that this kind of disappears when we hover over it. And also it should be in front of the other one when it comes in front. So yeah, bit of wobble, but again, I think I can put that on the back bit a bit, because see, it works here fine. Oh, how do I get back from this screen? Oh, I know. So yeah, little things straight away right off the bat. That's I guess why I wanted to do this. So the back button doesn't live in there, and exit button yeah, should close the stage. I mean, we can always just, but yeah, that works, and then go back to the main menu, except that should take us back to the map. So loads scene. Is it just load scene? That's a bit awkward, isn't it? That's not very readable. I just want to exit. Yeah, so if we load screen map, take us back to the map. Okay, but then I might choose a town. I might then choose some upgrades. That should be right click, and also if I click and drag, it shouldn't open it. I want to be able to click and drag, and so it should be like on mouse button up, I suppose. If I haven't dragged, that's actually quite tricky to do. Or if I want to start a mission, it will set me up in a mission. It will let me choose whichever characters I have that are available for this mission and put me up against the villain for that mission. And so the what do you call it? The doing free play. What that should do is why is this not? What that should do. Why is this not working? So I'm just watching the stream at my end, and it's just not. Oh, there we go. Yeah, it started. Yeah, what that should do is yeah. So with the free play, what I want is that's not going to be unlocked straight away. You're going to have unlocked a few. Like you need to have played as the orcs a bit first, just so that we can actually like have heroes that you've acquired as the enemy team. just because I just want it to be like which characters have you unlocked, and then I'll program that when I come to it, and that's going to be fun when I come to do that. But yeah, so we press play, and then we press play, and we're in a game with that setup. So that's good. That's under the hat. That's done. I'm really pleased about that. So we have some design points. And yeah, the first thing I want to do is just tidy up my to-do list. So design, replace floating shield and floating mirror. See, I definitely would want to do this before it comes to designing the demon skill trees. So I guess we'll make a note near the bottom. Yeah. So we'll do design. We'll do, demon skill trees, demon buildings. And then before that, we would want to replace floating shield and mirror. That's kind of like on the later list for the moment, because I kind of want to design that when I come to that part of the game. Replace plague with mana bomb / explosive debuffs. So I don't know where mana bomb came from. I can't remember what my thought was for that. Something like when an enemy dies, you get a bit of mana, which would be a way to lean into a mana build as opposed to a like a debuff build. So that would be crit plus poison, or explosive debuffs, which mean every time a unit dies, you get like it spreads their debuffs to nearby enemies. I don't know which one's better. I like the idea of having a talent associated with mana. So let's have a quick look at the design. So yeah, I'm just getting these things off the list. So yeah, looking at my design thing, so I can get rid of that. And this is old, so I'm just going to move it like away. And we can look at our talents here. It's just a nice quick view. So there's nothing that relates to mana. We have chain, which is an interesting one. That relates very much to range, which works quite well being an evolution of range. And then plague, I found, is just more poison. It's a bit boring. It's a bit also slightly OP, but not in a visual way. So attack speed plus poison might work well to be like, oh, this will give you mana. The thing is, if I've picked poison, am I going to want to move now to a mana build, right? Like, what would make sense from a mana build? I guess luck, but luck makes your shield provisions and dagger provisions, which kind of makes luck OP potentially. We'll see. We'll see if that's actually, like, that might be OP actually. And so a mana one would be like, when an enemy dies, you just flatly get a bit of mana. Or when an enemy dies, it spreads their debuffs to nearby enemies. So the way that would work is when on death. And yeah, do we want that? So this is why we're doing design bits first, I guess. Make demon shield for demon war. I'm going to put that, so we've got this whole section here. This is some video ideas. Demon shield for demon war. So just demon stuff I'm going to put there. Replace mirror and mirror blade. So that's an interesting one. So mirror and mirror blade. So we've got this mirroring mechanic, right? This mechanic that basically reflects an attack back at the attacker. And at first I was thinking that would be fun because you'd be a bit like a Jedi, deflecting projectiles and bouncing attacks back at the user. But in the end, it's just not as visually exciting. It's just it doesn't really work with this game. There's too much going on to really know that you've deflected an attack. Because the whole screen is blowing up. So I like the idea of ice shield, that like when you block, so you get your shield and then you get a version of the shield that when you block it freezes them and gives you a bit of mana, or just freezes them. But I think giving you a bit of mana is nice with the freeze as a kind of subtle bonus. And then we could kind of continue that theme. We've got plank and spiked shield. Spiked shield is nice, just does damage to the attacker. And then undead don't have a shield. And then here, the demon, the mirror and the rorim is where we could have something like a shield that when someone attacks you with the shield, it kind of could cause a little explosion or just do something a bit more interesting. So instead of mirror, we would have demon shield, which is just a shield. And then maybe when you deflect an attack, you heal, or something like that. When an attacker attacks you, you heal. What are the possible outcomes of blocking? Like get some mana, get some shield, get like we've also got this concept of armor, which I want to do. So yeah, Demon Wall should have shield. What does he have at the moment? Let's just try and knock this off the list. So if we go characters, Demon Wall, and so he's got a hammer and a heal. And the Demon Wall, yeah, interesting, because I'm just not sure. So yeah, the Demon Wall comes from, where is it? Demon Wall comes from the goat, which is our healer, and the gargoyle, who has a hammer. So it would make sense for that to just kind of continue the hammer build, right? Yeah, I'll keep Miro separate window from the stream. So yeah, I need to think about that. It's just like a design choice. And really at the moment, I just don't know. Like you could go in any direction and the answer always generally, the answer tends to be try both. Try it. You never know until you try it. But having hammer and a heal is not so bad. That kind of makes sense for the evolution. So I'm going to knock this off the list and we can come back to it if we feel it. The demons is going to be like one of the last things that I properly balance. Okay, yeah, and then the idea. So these are like quite big ideas. So what if there was a weapon? What is it? A weapon that spawns items. No. If the idea is just to lean into a luck build, lean into an item picking up build, but I don't think we need that. Consume should buff the player. That's true. So when we have consume, weapons, consume, and this doesn't have a buff on it, because the target is going to be the thing that gets consumed. This is a very funky one. But I think I already have, what is that, in character container? Which I'm going to close a bunch of these because we're starting a new kind of bit. It's probably a shortcut to close all, but I don't know it. Character container. Consume. No? Oh dear, no. Consume with a... Exclude self for consume. Yeah. So it's saying like target an ally but not myself. And then here's where we set up the weapon. And then if it's a consume, then you do that. And then here would be a good place to say... hey, thanks for joining, Jack. I've been working on this game since about May last year, but I've had lots of other things to do in the meantime, basically. So I would say all in, about 6 months of actual work, 6 to 8 months, I would say. Yeah, thanks. It's a survivor like Vampire Survivors, except you can summon units to fight alongside you. And as far as I know, there's not another game that quite does that. There are similar games, but they don't work in the same way. Like the enemies or the allies that you spawn work in the same way that enemies do, and they target each other and they attack. And there's no other game that I know of on the market that does that. And it's quite tricky. It's quite interesting, the kind of gameplay that comes out of that, because you can sort of there's a few little things that come out. One thing, the balance is crazy. Like if you start winning too much, you just become invincible, because it's not just you that's strong, it's a whole army of strong people. The other thing, but I've kind of overcome that. That was what I spent most of the early time on the game figuring that out. And it's about how the enemies spawn in and what kind of enemies spawn, and that works the other way as well. If you're on the back foot and you're just on your own and you don't have an army, then you kind of just spend the whole time running away from enemies, which is not fun. So every 5 minutes you get like a loot goblin that gives you some items and kind of, in a way, sort of resets you, so that if you were doing badly, you have a chance to recover. And the other thing is, it's interesting, like, because you find lots of, you'll have two armies or like groups of enemy characters clash with each other, drop loads of loot, and then you can just spend your time hoovering up the loot, and you're constantly having to decide, should I go and get the loot that's on the floor to make my army stronger? Because of course momentum means that the more you the stronger your army is, the stronger it will get. It's not that complicated. I guess it has gotten pretty mad, because the characters, they don't just whack each other like they do in Vampire Survivors, or the enemies work on the same rules that the player does, right? So if I can start a mission, just show a little bit. The enemies work on the same rules that the player does, and that they have a bunch of weapons that are doing different things. So yeah, it's like this. And as you can imagine, eventually you get lots and lots of goblins and lots of soldiers, and you choose which soldiers you want. So we get our first level up. And let's say I pick a shield bearer, who all they do is just block. And they can block AoE attacks, so they can kind of protect their army a bit. And yeah, so it creates like an interesting outcome. And I've kind of, at first I was kind of just going to rush this game out and be like, yeah, okay, that's that. But I actually have a lot of fun with it. So I decided to put quite a bit more time into it. I've changed the name. I've kind of reset the store page, and I'm going to give this game the love that it deserves and needs to make it really work. And yeah, we're making good progress. Probably going to need about 6 more months to finish it properly. So here, we make the soul. So we have items. Item. Where do we actually give you the item? I think it's in item. So here we have a bit of script that when you get an item, so you get a soul, and then what we can do here is we buff the player. And then what would this buff do? So it'd be player dot add buff, new buff, and it would be, can I get my bits? Okay, yeah, Unity's cool. Unity's great. Brackies does really good tutorials if you find him on YouTube. And yeah, I mean, so I didn't do computer science or anything. Like I completely self-taught, and I found that Unity, but also just how much resources there are out there to help you learn it. You can make any game you can think of. You can make in Unity for sure. I've never tried Unreal, so I couldn't tell you. I couldn't make that comparison, but Okay, so let's call this ensouled. Ensouled is a fun word. Stat would be, I don't know. Like I don't know what this would do. I just need to. I know it should do something. Let's say the stat is. Yeah, let's make a fresh one. My code for the soul is absolute rubbish. Sorry, my code for buffs is absolute rubbish. It's pure spaghetti. It's not a debuff. Oh, there's a comma. It's not permanent. It lasts for 4 seconds. And it doesn't have a sprite. It should have a sprite. Sprites.ensouled. Okay, which doesn't exist yet, but we have to go stuff.sprites.ensouled. Yeah. And so we can make that. And obviously this is going to be blank to begin with. I haven't made this yet. But yeah, you should definitely get a buff from doing this. Yeah. So if you do web dev, I guess you're familiar a bit with spaghetti. There was one phrase which set me free. It was actually talking about Factorio, and someone was saying, because you know if you play Factorio or like Satisfactory or something, and someone said embrace the spaghetti, which really hit home for me, and it worked. Also, my second game, Human Factory, is like a factory game / colony game where you run a factory of humans, and my I spent so long coding and then recoding and refactoring and changing and swapping around shit. I spent so long just wasting time doing that and realized like it doesn't matter, you know. And I spoke to a few programmers who were like, and then I saw, can I say this? Yeah, I saw the code of a big game that I've worked on, like a big game that you probably heard of. And it's spaghetti as well. It's like, oh shit, I thought once you got to the professional level it would be a bit more. It's like no, they eat spaghetti too at AA and AAA, maybe less at AAA. So yeah, spaghetti's fine. You just gotta deal with how much spaghetti you want, and every time you get better at programming. A lot of the spaghetti in this case is because I sort of started building this game with the help of AI to help me program, and it kind of just did things in a bad way. What's wrong here? What are we missing? Oh, okay, so we have the buff, and then we have visible true, and then buffer is the player. So this would be player. So then I make a note on my visuals, and I say sprite for ensouled buff, and then get ready for the spaghetti now. Add buff. So when we add a buff, we do a switch case for every single possible outcome. It's horrible. Yeah, it's like, obviously it's better for it not to be spaghetti, but it, like, I want to make a video on this at some point. It's like to refactor or not to refactor. And and to me, like, if you, it's like playing Factorio. It's like, should I fix this, or is it fine and should I move on to the next thing? Like, is it really going to make the difference, you know? Like, this is horrible spaghetti. Because instead of having like a buff having like a list of stats that we can improve, and then that stat relating to a stat to the player, like, I know how I should do it now. With retrospect, I know, I'm like, yeah, obviously. But I started with just a few buffs, and then it kind of got out of hand, and now it's like every time I make a new buff, I have to make the case here, case ensouled, and then we do, let's say ensouled does character dot damage plus equals buff dot value. And really what it should be doing is relating specifically to like a stat that's on the character, but I didn't do it like that. And what the AI suggested is, so like for example with character, right? Characters. So I don't have characters up here. The characters are made, they're made as they're added to the list, right? So we go character list, add new character. And that's how the AI suggested to me to do it. So I was like, you know what? That's not how I do it, but I'm going to trust in this. And it turned out the AI was wrong because it would be better. So I just showed Lich. It would be better to have up here public static character Lich equals new character. And then I would make the character Lich, and then anything that's different, lich.hp equals 5, I don't know. And then all characters, what do we call it? Character list dot add. That would be the way to do it. You know, and lich dot, like, and then you would fill it all out like that. And then I can easily grab the lich. I can easily get like the name of the lich. And also the other thing, if I, so we could make max HP is a, or even like damage X, right? Equals 5, let's say. That would be massive. Equals 1.1, right? That shouldn't be like that. Damage shouldn't be a float. Damage should be a stat. But I can't set up a stat if I'm making it as I add it to the list. So if I wanted to do that improvement, which I did try last week, I would have to then go back and take all of these, like, was it like 80 characters, 100 characters almost, and make and basically refactor it. And I don't think find and replace would cut it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's a fine line. So you always have to make that decision. And I did spend last week sitting there for like a couple hours at least, like thinking, should I refactor this? Or should I just continue with the spaghetti train that I have? And I did decide to continue with the spaghetti train that I have. So here we make a buff called Ensouled, and we decide what that does here. We say damage X, and let's say attack speed X. Plus equals buff.value, and maybe it would make sense for max HP. And do you want to see some really fun spaghetti? This is gonna be its own number. That's horrible. Horrible code. Bad programmer. And then it gets even worse. I have to go to remove buff. And then there's another switch case, which just does the whole thing in reverse. Isn't that fun? Where I just have to do minus. So that's how I make a buff. It's horrendous. It's horrendous. What it should be is the character should have a list of stats. And a stat would be its own thing. A stat has a name, a value, and maybe a sprite so that we can explain it in game. You know, would have a bunch of things, and then the character would have a list of stats, right? And then the buff would also have a list of stats, and then because the buffs, the names of the stats on the buffs would relate to the stats on the character, we can just go for each stat on this buff, find the corresponding stat on the character, and modify it. And then we wouldn't need this switch case. It would just work for whatever. And then when we make a buff, we just do it like that. That would be a better way of doing it. But as I said, I did make the thing for stat. But let's say I said new stat. I don't know, public float. Public stat coding ability equals new stat, right? And then I would set up that stat somewhere. And then I would say coding ability dot value equals 10. But I can't do that. coding ability doesn't exist in the current context. It does exist in the current context. It's just I can't mess with shit like that if I'm making the thing as I add it to the list. So that's really annoying. Where was I? So yeah, we don't. That was just to show that. And I was really annoyed because I was gonna fix everything, but it turned, in order to make that change, I would have to do that for all of these characters. And I could do that. It would take me a day. I would probably find a clever way of doing it. Character list.add. I could probably get an AI to do it as well. I could just say, look, all of these, just instead put it into this format. But I don't have I don't have a subscription to Claude or ChatGPT or anything, and I don't really want one. And if I did, so then I could, and so because I don't have the subscription, I would have to do it in chunks. So I would have to be like, okay, I think I can do like 5 of these at a time, or like 4 of these at a time. So I'd be like, okay, can you redo these in a different format? And it would do it. And I would still have to check it for hallucinations and mistakes. But yeah. Yeah. No, but Unity's really easy to learn. Of course, it's hard to master. And if you already have coding principles, then you probably won't make as many mistakes as I did. As I do. Yeah, so it would be something like this. Character container. So let's go back to add buff. So here we are in add buff. And so instead of this switch case, I would have for each stat in buff, in the buff that we've got. So we've already set up buff. We said add buff. What is the buff? Is it visible? Who did it? Because we need to know who did it, because they can get benefits from having done a buff. So for each stat and buff, buff doesn't contain stat. Oh, buff.stats, which it doesn't have. And then it would be like, so for each stat and buff.stats, we would probably have like a getter. We'd be like, character.stats, which doesn't exist, and I guess like first or default, like find me the stat that has the same name. It's not letting me do first or default, but it'll be like first or default, I dot name. Let's just do I dot name is equal to stat dot name. Yeah, it has to be like that. So it'll be stat dot name, and then so this stat equals, and then we would say this stat dot value plus equals stat dot value. Simples. And this 4 lines of code would replace this entire switch case. And it would also mean that every time I make a new buff, I don't have to put all of this here. I just have to define the buff. But, you know, shoulda, woulda, coulda. But yeah, it's fun to talk about these things. So yeah, I decided against it because it would just be too much work and wouldn't actually benefit the game. I can just continue adding it here every time I want to add a new stat, and it doesn't mess with optimization or anything. So this one is a coding job basically. So here's what I'm doing now is plague. So these are talents. So you have weapons, allies, and talents. So weapons, just like Vampire Survivors. Talents, just like the sort of armor slot in Vampire Survivors. And the new one, allies. And you can combine them, just like Ball Pit or something, into something. And each one combines into two, has 2 possible outcomes. Or each of them has 2 lines sticking out of it, which are the tier 2 versions. And poison plus crit rate equals like your faction, your special faction one. But poison plus attack speed equals plague, which basically means that poison spreads between characters. Yeah, well, actually, no, I don't think it's not. It's not more readable. It's not because you would still have, like, when you set up the buff, that's when you put the stats in, and then it's just there. Oh, what does this buff do? Go to the buff. It does this, and I don't then have to like see what it does here and there as well. But it's not a problem in terms of readability, because I can always say, oh, what does Insult do, and just do a search, and I can find, here's where we add it, here's where we remove it, here's where it's added, and here's the sprite, and that's that. And yeah, it's a fine line between like spending your life refactoring code that works fine. You know, there's just no reason. But I do want to change Plague, because Plague doesn't work very well. Plague is not that fun. All the other ones are fun. Time Magic is fun. Space Magic is fun. They're just big buffs. Everyone gets a shield. Everyone gets a dagger. Chicken range from the sky. Life steal. Spiked armor. These are all cool, and they have clear use cases. Yeah. This is. I mean, I didn't invent life steal, obviously, but yeah, stolen from other games. And Plague and Flame Attacks is good, and that's faction specific. Every faction has its own element, and if you combine Poison with crit rate, you get your faction's thing. But if you combine Poison with attack speed, you get Plague. And what would work better for this game is to have something that does something different. Yeah. Well, it's have you played Vampire Survivors? Vampire Survivors is really good. Not like an amazing game that you're gonna like fall in love with, like a Final Fantasy or God of War or something, but it's a really nice, simple bit of fun. Just get that dopamine going, you know. So yeah, Plague, I've found, is not that exciting, because just poison spreading between units is a bit of a pain. I think it's poorly optimized, as in... Wait, what? We're plagued? Oh, that's from what's his name? Floater. So here we have, every time we count buffs, we say... yeah, I definitely recommend checking it out. Or Brotato is a bit more of an involved game. But Vampire Survivors is like, it won Game of the Year or something when it came out, like Indie Game of the Year or something. And it's very cheap. And it's very simple fun. And and Brotato is a bit more like, you have to think about your movement a bit more, but the fun of it is that the characters attack automatically. You just have to worry about movement and choosing which upgrades you want, which is kind of simple. I remember playing it. My first son had just been born when I was playing it, and it was great because I could play it with a controller and him in the other hand, and I could play the whole game with one hand, which is great. It made me think that it would be... I had this funny idea that if this game completely fails, I'll just repackage it, but with like sexy girls. Because it's a game you can play with one hand. I don't know if that's a rude joke. So yeah, what we have is, if someone is poisoned, and if we have the plague upgrade, then spread that plague to everyone else. Spread that plague to nearby characters. And I've got two alternatives for this. One is that, and I don't like this, I don't think this is good. One thing I would do is I can still use this code. I mean, it's pretty basic stuff. But and then yeah, add the buff. What I could do is explosive debuff, which would be when the character dies. So not every bloody second for every character, which is very poorly optimized. It would be on death. And it doesn't really matter whereabouts this goes here. I think near the beginning is fine. Again, a little bit, not the most readable code. So we would say, what did I name it here? Explosive debuff. Okay, so it contains explosive. The thing is, this doesn't scale. Like that, basically. And I guess the buffer would be this. So that's how explosive debuff would work. So this means if a character dies and you've got this talent, the problem is this doesn't scale. It doesn't scale. So what we could say is if it's, and I don't know how I would do this, but like, so each upgrade can level up to 4. And how would a level 4 version be better? It could have better range, but again, that's a bit boring, isn't it? The alternative design choice is something that gives you mana. Because currently, there are no talents, no allies, and no weapons that can give you mana. And this is a mechanic in the game. And here's the more design questions around that. If you've picked poison, it's because you're doing a poison build. Meaning you're going to want to continue doing poison. Because you get benefits from doing debuffs. And then, yeah, you think like, oh, there's so many design dependencies. Like, I love this, but it does hurt my brain a bit. It's like, at the moment, there are artifacts. Artifacts are like talents in other games. You get a few of them, and they're very, very powerful. I think they're called artifacts with an I. In Monster Train, they're called artifacts. And we have some that are related with adding a debuff to the enemy. But this is way too powerful. So what I need to do is... yeah. Yeah, it's a bit... We can get rid of that switch case. But yeah, so what we can do is instead of debuff, we would have fire. So... I think double fire is redundant. Fire summon, fire heal, fire mana. So basically every time you set something on fire. Double fire. Fire summon. So yeah, we just find and replace debuff with fire. Or flaming, I don't know. Yeah, let's call it flaming. Should be an adjective. Okay. And then we would have frozen. So yeah, we just And I think this is a good choice, a good design choice. And then we would have electric. Okay. We also have some, where do I put them? Electric boogaloo, yeah. Where are you? Special. So with Flaming Death, Frostbite, Big Piercing, Big Chain. Flaming Death means that when a character dies and they're on fire, they explode. Frostbite means that frozen enemies take more damage. Electric Boogaloo means that the paralysis effect of lightning lasts for twice as long. But instead I'm thinking of ones that are and then we have Debuff, which is basically OP. Debuffs are too easy to come by. So we split debuff into the 3 different types of debuff, which means rather than having a magic build, you specifically pick an element. And then of course humans don't have access to electric, orcs don't have access to ice, and undead don't have access to fire. So we would have to make them restricted, which I already have that set up. And then, yeah, unfortunately, this is how we do it. We have to, so debuffs, I would basically have to copy all of this and say, make it just for the elements. And I need to think about this because, no, I'm not gonna get lost in the weeds again with that. So now, basically, in order to make this work, debuff 1, 2, 3. Oof. Lots of lines of code. Right. So debuff, and I'll just make this flaming, and hopefully it kind of generally works. And I'm gonna manually click through it rather than, actually no, I'm gonna select the whole thing and do a selection and do it there. On flaming, so on flaming, no, that's not right. When you set something on fire, on flaming, what's double flaming? I think we can cut double flaming because that's just a bit whack. We already have one that's like just kind of enhances the power of flame. Flaming summon works. 1% chance to on setting something on fire. That's too wordy. On yeah, on when you is set on fire. That just seems too wordy. How do you? I'm supposed to be quite good at English. I used to be an English teacher. When inflaming, I feel like that's not clear enough. Oh, brackies. BR brackies. Very, very, very good channel. Very nice, clean, clear tutorials. And lots of good advice. On setting fire to an enemy. We're just gonna have to have it like that. On setting fire to an enemy. On setting fire to an enemy. And then the proc, yeah, we'll have to set up that proc. We can do that in a bit. And then so this would be we'll do it to the selection. We'll just do it here quickly as well for and one of the things we have to do here is exclude list. Is that what it's called? Excluded factions. Oof, doing that by string. And then so for and the excluded faction for flaming would be black beans. The name's going to change. And the excluded faction here would be green beans. Excluded faction here would be humans. And then, yeah, on what did I have for fire? On burning an enemy. On setting fire to an enemy, on and then yeah, we'll get rid of double frozen. I feel like if I just say electrifying without saying electrifying an enemy, it just sounds weird. I don't know why. On electrifying, surely that should work, but that electrifying could be, yeah, different kind of adjective. As it could be an adjective instead of a verb. Okay, and then we would have procs. So under buff, debuff, we'll keep debuff. We won't get rid of any of that code. And we'll have burning, what was it? Flaming, frozen, electric. And then we need to set that up. So the proc would be, so where do we have debuff artifacts for each artifact? Okay, so we would want to have something here. The proc is equal to artifact proc dot flaming, then if buff dot stat is equal to, is it burning? God, that's a nice, is it burning? Fire? What's the fire debuff called? Yeah, it is just called fire. Again, like, I'm never like, well, maybe one day in the future, because I guess it's still early days, but I feel like it was a massive mistake to well, no, I don't regret trying out AI to see if it can help me code. I can objectively say that it slowed me down though, big time. I don't regret trying it, but it did slow me down. It has not helped. It kind of helped in the early stage because it meant that the coding happened quite fast early on, which meant I could just focus on like the game design and question whether it's fun or not. But I suppose what I should then have done is start from scratch, but it felt a bit weird to do that. Be like to basically start the code from scratch. Electrified? I see to make sure this matches the name of the buff. Yeah, electrified and frost. It's called frost, not frozen. Oof. Again, what I should be doing is not asking for a string. I should be saying, does this match the name of the buff that is the frost buff? So I would have if buff.stat or if buff.name, it would be like this. If buff.name is equal to buffs.frost.name. That would be the correct way to do it. But, you know. Okay, so we have special circumstances for some of these. And then we say artifacts.run artifact outcome. Yeah, so we've added a debuff, it's flaming, the buff.stat is, so this should work. So we just quite simply and the special ones won't happen here. So yeah, that should work. And so now we have artifacts, and now we have for visuals, flaming, frozen, and electrified artifact sprites that I have to now draw. Okay, so the design case. So yeah, we did that. I don't know where that was, but that needed doing. So there should be more stuff. And then I'm thinking, okay, so then there'd be a separate one for poison, which only relates to plague. But I'm thinking, so you expect to see poison in a game like this, right? But is it actually good? Like, does it actually work in this game? Do you need poison in every game? Are you failing your audience? Are you failing as a game designer if poison isn't a thing? Because poison's kind of boring, to be honest. It's kind of boring. It's fun in some games where you have like stacks of poison and there are things that directly relate to it. And there could be a faction. I think that would be the way to do it. Instead, there'd be a faction that has poison instead of fire. And there'd be like a poison spell as well. But I'm thinking, here's what I'm thinking. Is we cut poison. We cut poison. We say like mana. So the mana talent would be like, and then how would it work? Because we already have artifacts which are like, if you kill an enemy, you have a chance to get some mana. But what if instead it was like, yeah, you get mana, like mana pool, like mana. I don't know what the word would be. Mana mania. I don't know. Mania. And what this would do is reduce maximum, reduce mana needed for ultimate. So so this would work really well with anything that combines with ultimate, and potentially anything that works well with mana. So it would just reduce the amount of mana you need for an ultimate. So we replace poison with that. And then now we've got a mana talent. And then attack speed plus mania. So like and then we cut plague, and instead we have what would be like a natural evolution of attack speed. What's armor doing? Poison plus. So this would be mania. So we've got reduced mana needed for ultimate. That's good. And then we have if you. And so I need to think of one to replace this. So we're cutting poison from the game. I think that's a given. Let's cut poison from the game. And instead have... I mean, it always feels bad when something doesn't leap out at me, because I feel like whatever it's going to be is going to be like subpar. But often, actually, some of the best stuff comes out of moments like that. Certainly, the ending of Love Quest, people loved the ending of that, and it was definitely like I didn't know what the ending was going to be once I started the game, but the ending that I went with was actually I was really, really pleased with. What would fit with attack speed and mana? Because already reducing the mana needed for ultimate, it's already like you're basically getting more mana every time you pick one up. It's this, like if it was just you get more mana every time you get mana, would have the same outcome, the exact same outcome. I mean, it could be cool to have like an empowered ultimate. Ultimania. And it would be fun to see how that applies to each hero. It's more work for me. But it basically would increase the effect of any ultimate. So Randar would summon more units, Basmo would resurrect more units, the Dushata's Chain Lightning would be twice as powerful, Beanie's attack... Yeah, I think that's cool. And I think that's fun to have like a more powerful one. And I just like the idea of like... I mean, yeah, it's nothing too crazy, but yeah, so Ultimania increases power of ultimate. And also I like Ultimania. I like the word. And I like mania. Okay. So how would that work? So we go into upgrades. And find poison. Okay, and so poison is now deprecated, but I'm not gonna get rid of it. I'm just gonna add mania. I'm not going to get rid of it, I'm just going to comment it out, just in case we want it back, for whatever reason. And one of the reasons I have to figure these things out now is specifically because it relates to how the buildings are going to be. So where was poison living? Ah, it lives in the magic school. Lovely. It already I was worried that it was in the market. So now poison becomes mania. And plague becomes ultimania, which makes so much fucking sense. Excuse my language, but it really does make a lot of sense. Okay, I'm liking this. I'm liking this. So yeah, let's change all of these. Oh dear, off to the side there. Yeah. Okay. Plague. Let's not worry about plague just yet. Where else is poison? So spark of life would require mania. Oh, that makes so much sense too. That makes so much sense too. I think. If the prerequisite for the thing is magic, like you're doing fire, it's magic. Yeah, okay, yeah. I'm happy with this change. We can always change it back and we'll see, but I think this is the kind of thing that separates this game from being from a bad game to a good game, where people say this is well designed. Yes. In fact, they won't even know. They won't be like, oh, it was very. They'll play it thinking, oh, I'm glad mania isn't poison, because poison would be boring. They'll never know. They'll never know how much I love them. Right, plague. So we take plague, and we don't delete it. And yeah, the reason I'm doing things like this is because it makes sense to do as much of this as I can before I go all in with the upgrade system. Plague. And then plague, it's not a prerequisite to anything because it's level 2, so it's just plague doctor. What about these ones? What are these? Plague doctor again. Plague doctor. Okay. So then I need... and I think that's good. I'm happy with that. Like, I don't have any problems with that. That mana is a specific build, as in you have artifacts which increase the amount of that give you more mana. You have artifacts which make your ultimates more powerful. So now you have a talent which gives you more mana and evolves into something that makes your ultimate more powerful. Like, that's great. And you can have both. You can have both. And then, so let me just check now quickly. So, yeah, no, it works really nicely for flame attacks and for plague. For Ultimania, works beautifully. Yeah, lovely. I'm happy with that. I'm very pleased with that. Okay, so we're kind of continuing this theme as well with, I'm going to change the name of the stream to game design, big design changes. Okay. And so, yeah, I'm happy with that. That's the answer. So I'm glad I sat with that for a bit, and I think that's a good outcome. Okay, replace mirror and mirror blade. So mirror blade is here, and I think, yeah, ice shield is better. So shield makes sense. Shield is good, but then mirror blade like reflects the attack, and I just find it boring. But if we said that ice shield again gives you mana when you block and freezes the attacker, I think that's really cool. I think that's very good. I think that's a good that'll be fun. Because thing is, I never actually get Mirror Blade. I need to think about why that is. Fireball becomes Flame of the West, Meteors. Yeah, because ice plus shield, it's like a block ice build. But yeah, okay, so Mirror Blade to ice shield, that works well. Yeah, so we'll do that. We'll turn Mirror Blade into Ice Shield. So we go into... We have to do it in a number of places. So we have to do it here. And I'll just comment it out. And we'll... Oh wait, before I comment it out, copy it, copy the whole thing. Comment it out. Mirror Blade becomes Ice Shield. Shield of Ice. Frozen Shield. I think Ice Shield is fine. We can always change the name if we come up with something better. Oh no, don't do that. Just these. I'm just putting random, like I'm not thinking too much about these. I shield, you shield. I'm not gonna put any more thought into it than that. At one point I will go through, because like for example, I have this very, very cringe Unk one, which I already want to get rid of. Very cringe reference to internet drama. I'm just going to change this. Change to more enemies. Unlimited power. With some quotes about electricity, like... terrifying. And unlimited power is a reference to Star Wars. Yeah, any mention of Kaya? Yeah, so I've got it again here, but because chain lightning. So actually, this should be descriptions equals weapons get upgrade chain lightning dot 3 dot description. Yeah, just reference the existing one. I should do that for all of them, but who has the time for that shit? I'll just copy and paste that. Such a big chunk of code, this. Yeah, very, very, very cringe reference to internet culture that we can do without, I think. It's just embarrassing for me when I see it, so because I see it and I'm like, ooh. So I think it's funny, but cringe, a little bit cringe. Okay. So did we comment out? We shouldn't have commented out the sprites. No, we don't need to comment out the sprites. We just need to comment out like the use of them. But we do want to say like debuff, double debuff is probably fine. But all the others have got to go, I think. They're just a bit they're just a bit too OP. Like a debuff, and also a debuff build is kind of boring. I think it's more fun to have a build that is purely associated with each individual buff, each individual element, rather than saying, because debuff is essentially an elemental build, and then what we can do is we can up the chance. So, and I have to do this manually in each case. So like 5, I should have done this before I copied it. 5, 5, 20. And I'll just double the chance. Or times 5 the chance? No. Let's just double the chance in each case, and we can worry about more balancing later. Because if you're doing it properly, you're going to be setting fire to a lot of enemies. Let's times 3 it. But obviously it's going to be less likely than what it was before. And I know that 0 is redundant. It just helps me to remember that it's a percentage. Three is a magic number, so it makes sense. Okay, and that should do it. Okay, I'm gonna go for a quick smoke and then I'll come back and we'll carry on. Okay. So yeah, we're making good design choices. So replace mirror blade with ice shield. Yeah. And so we need to do that in weapons as well. And then so just quickly, let's have a look here. Where do we keep mirror blade? Did I lose it? Do I have mirror blade here? Where did we have mirror blade? Up here. So yeah, it's ice shield. Ah. And actually what I want is shield. I want the stats from shield. So actually, yeah, it's better to just copy over shield here. Why has it got piercing? Oh, that's like a pierce defense, I think. If a shield has piercing, that's pierce defense, and if that ends at 1.4, we should just continue down. We should just go 1.2, 1, because at this point in the game, you'll get attacked more than once per second. Is that too quick? I think that's too quick. Let's just go 1.3, 1.2, 1.1, and 1. And it's a shield. Okay. And then we need to actually make that happen. So when we do, is it check block? So defense type. And yeah, we've got, sadly, we have it happening in a few places. So when we block, so this is try block. Weapon.defense type. And then we have mirror, double mirror, and then we have ice shield. If weapon.name contains ice shield. What we could do is, so when we try block, we say, so first of all, we say if it's specifically ice shield, then, and we should have like, Where do we add mana? Just add mana? Gain mana? Mana plus equals restore mana. Good old consistency. That's why consistency is important. No, it's always on try block. And then this will be we'll see .weapon .damage, just so that I can so it would start with like 5. Oh, that's the wrong place. Hello? Do we not have ice shield anymore? Oh, did I not? Okay, I didn't update it. Okay, ice shield. Okay, we might as well have a sound for it. Yep. And then so the damage. So how much mana should it give? Wait, do we already? I think that might be bad, because I think when we do try block. Yeah, if shield has damage the attacker. So it shouldn't be damage. And it should have... So it should have the frost buff. And let's just quickly... So if it has shield damage the attacker, if shield has buff attacker, shield has, let's call it debuff. So that handles the frost side of things, but then for the mana, c.weapon. What stats do we have that we can use? Just so I don't have to like do like a switch case or something. So weapon, attack speed, like a shield has no use for AoE. Like this, I know this is confusing, but and so I'll just explicitly make a note. So let's say 3. I mean, it should be quite high, right? Let's say 5. Let's say 6 even. 4 going up to, and then I'll just put a comment on shields. AoE relates to mana granted. So we go 4, 6, 8, 10. Okay, and now for and get ready for some. Oh wait, no, I think I fixed this spaghetti at least. So this is talents. So if we have the apply talent. Really? Okay, so that's old. So and then if it's a talent, remove replaced upgrades. If it's a talent, add buff. So the buff. Okay, so upgrade.stat name. So we have to go to upgrades. And we find mania. Okay. Stat name equals max mana. And stat value equals like -10. And I think max mana is like, so it's going to significant. So let's make it 5 and we'll adjust as necessary. Too worried about the balance just yet. And then so when we do this, do we have a max mana? Yep, so yeah, so add buff. And we'll just put it right at the bottom. Really silly, but as I explained before, it's going to be more trouble. Yeah, it's just that. to close the window because of that noise. Don't know if that noise is coming through on the stream. And it's not too hot today, so I don't mind having the windows closed. So max mana. Okay, and then let me just double check that that's even, because I recently changed this, so it'll be upgrade.names. Yeah. Okay. So that should increase, it should decrease the max mana of the character, which is a good thing. And does it say that attacks will mania enemies? Attacks will, okay, that should work. But I might keep mirror for now. Like, that's a demon thing. I'm not going to worry about demon stuff just yet, because it might work well for demons. Like, you can pick a mirror, it reflects attacks, it's fun. If you're playing as the demons, it means that you've been playing the game quite a lot. Meaning, like, you're having fun with the game. And the demons are more of just like a bit of fun. They're supposed to be a bit imbalanced and a bit different, you know. And mirror is fun. Is a fun idea. It's a block. It's just a block that reflects the attack. It's good. So I'm going to take that off the list for now, and we now have it. It should work. And we have. Oh, the sprite for Ensouled buff should just be the item sprite for Ensouled. It's just the same sprite as the Ensouled item. So if we go, where is that? Could do it in a really roundabout way, but yeah, actually we don't have it stored yet. But we could easily do that. So we go. We don't need that. There. So much to do. Okay, consume should buff player as well. Oh wait, isn't that... Yeah, consume, yeah. Isn't it sacrifice? Because that heals all allies. Could buff everyone as well, but I'm just going to leave that. I'll put that in the design for demons with a question mark. So wait, no, sacrifice should buff all units. Weapons to clean debuffs. Ooh, interesting. So it's just an idea I had. So being able to clean a debuff off yourself, or like allies having weapons that clean debuffs, or buffs that clean debuffs. Like, my immediate thought is not really. Just because there's not really space for it. Like a debuff just lasts as long as it lasts and then it goes away. No, I think I'm going to just cut that. And if I think of it again... Demon unit that gives mana. Ah, interesting. So... let's move this because it's... So we could say floating shield could become... Oh, the cultist could do that as part of its thing. But I think, again, I'm going to pop this down. I'm going to pop this down here. Throwing daggers doesn't work very well for this game. That's true. It's sort of invisible. It's one of the problems I've had with Rogue Genesia. It's like a lot of the abilities, like, they just weren't very visible. These tiny little things would hop about, and when the screen's full, you can't even see it. Whereas everything else is quite visible. But if we had dagger and bow... So this is done. I think the easiest thing... That's been committed, so... And let's just do it here as well. Mania... I think I already did this. Yeah, I think I did. Sickle. Yeah, okay, we did that. Okay, yeah, we'll keep Mirror. We'll keep Rorim. Just because we don't really know. And what were we doing? Throwing daggers. What would we replace throwing daggers with? Since I don't have a strong idea, I'm just going to keep that in my head. I'm going to keep that in the brain bank. Oh, this is a big one. That's going to require my full attention. Grave should have its own buff. Yeah, so currently the Grave has Staff of Command. So this would be characters, Grave, and it should instead have something else. So let's put that there. Let's put that there. So that's AoE attack speed and increases length of undead. I think undead debuff is no longer relevant because what happens is they just lose health over time. So I'm just going to get rid of that. It would want to be like if the subject receives, if the subject is undead, then heal it. If character, how do you check if something's undead? It's the quickest way to check if something's undead. Hmm. We could just like check if the sprite is the undead version, but that's a bit tricky. If character dot there's really nowhere that we say And then the buff value of staff of command. .4, so it would be like times 10 would be 4, so times 100 would be 40. No, sorry, times, yeah, 100. So weapons. 4, 5, 6, 7. That'd be 70, so it should be like times 50. So then on the upgrade, buffs, AoE, what was it? AoE attack speed. And heals undead. Heals resurrected unit allies. Oh, but then there's Super Staff of Command, which is a more powerful version. Oof, okay. So weapons. What am I looking at here? Yeah, okay. Yeah, interesting. Because I like that idea. I like that it would sort of refresh. Because basically undead units lose HP over time, but you could just... This is a special item that would actually increase that quite rapidly. Okay. And the grave should have its own buff. Is like... Actually, the fact that it's healing undead now gives it some utility, so I'm gonna put a mental pin on this and just delete it, because I'm just what I'm trying to do is I'm just try and change. Oh, so the armor change, right? So this is a big one, where basically armor, rather than being a damage damper, would act like armor does in other games, where you've got like basically a second HP bar, which is armor, right? Which would be a drastic change to the game. Do we want to do that? Oof, that's a big one. The thing is, I need to try it. I ought to try it. Because it just adds more like interactions, like, oh, you've got more armor, now you can do more damage, like items and stuff that increases damage based on armor. So artifacts, more damage, anything, armor damage is halved. Do something when armor breaks. Armor as an effect on other artifacts. What did I mean by that when I wrote it? So, like gain armor. See, I like that. I like that a lot. Okay, I'm gonna put that. I'm gonna leave that there. An item which casts a buff, I think, is like not really necessary. Yeah. Buff, debuff artifact should make it so buffed characters have a chance to drop the thing. Oh, I see. So no. Buff, debuff. This is just a question, and it's like, I've kind of got to say, like, if it's not really necessary, like, is this going to make the game better? So rather than, oh, whenever you debuff an enemy, you have a chance to get mana, it would be that a debuffed enemy has a chance to drop mana when it dies. I just think that's a bit more awkward. Or has a chance to drop a summoner when it dies. That's a big maybe. So kind of all over the place with this one. Consider fewer, better themed artifacts that do more. I think I can maybe consider that, yeah. Change Berserker to Hammer, easy one. It's because I'm trying to just knock the little things off the list. Berserker. Find all. And there's no reason I couldn't just... So we are just literally going to do big find and replace Berserker with Hammerer. Achievements room. I think that's fairly obvious. Like, so the way achievements are going to work is we would have, each faction would have like a main building or like a trophy room type thing, and that would be where the achievements go. Castle. So you click on the castle and you get your achievements. And that is actually how you will build the wall in the human town, which is part of the story. So you click on the castle and you just see achievements in the same way, and you just click on them to unlock them. So that would be like an achievement button. I should probably set that up. So set up achievements building. And then this is another big one, balancing of level 2 enemies. Yeah, so because some enemies are like level 2, they kind of drop more XP and they have better item chances, and the balance is therefore off. They ought to be treated the same as how they... So like an orc is just as good as another unit. I need to just think about that. My brain's a bit full. What I want to try and do is knock off all of the little silly things that I can do. Yeah, see, this is characters must complete a character quest to unlock their talent, so that'll just be on the map. That's like a side branch from the main story. Oh, I guess, do missions have prereqs? Oh, it has unlocked. So when you complete a mission, it will unlock the next missions. Yeah, okay. I'll be right back. I need to go to the toilet. essentially what I want to do is update key out with pick. Okay, so that's a different thing. I should do that. I'll do that off stream. Just update the key art for the game. Refactor items so they work with encyclopedia. Yeah, I can do that. Yeah. Enemy hero. To replace loot goblin. So like instead of just a loot goblin appearing, like the enemy hero appears and you have to basically knock them out. And they'll appear a little bit stronger each time. Segmented HP. Okay, so these are all good jobs that I can do. Okay. So buffed characters drop the thing. So that's quite fun because it sort of means that, so like we could say, so let's flesh that out a bit. Burning, or was it flaming? And what are the items that we can drop? Let's just remind myself. Got loads of artifacts, but I think that's fun. Reset, mana, heal, chicken, yeah. Flaming chicken. Update. Armor. Artifacts. And then we could have like weapons which relate with armor. Or is that a talent? I think that's an artifact. But there could be specific weapons which do more damage based on how much armor you have. So for example, the great sword, the hammer maybe? The quake hammer, if that's shield and hammer. Starts to become a bit complicated to read the weapon, so it's like quake hammer will do more damage based on the armor it has, or is that just a knockback weapon? But the great sword is also just like a big sword, but if we said that the great sword did more damage depending on how much armor you have, and then what about units? Like the blacksmith, so it has the anvil, but the anvil is could like repair armor for characters, so you would just always have tons of armor instead of doing the buff, or like it could buff and do armor. And then the armor talent already does that, and then spiked armor could be that one that increases damage based on armor, just so you're more likely to get it. Yeah, so I need to think about that. So I'd like, is this better? I don't know. I think because it adds another like layer of complexity to the game, but I think it's cool, and it kind of means that maybe down the line we could really. God, how much time are we going to spend working on this game? But like you could have. So like, what if we had a dwarf faction, which was just all about armor, and yeah, maybe every weapon. Every faction could have a weapon that is like the armor weapon that does damage based on armor. Mace. Because at the moment, mace is a knockback weapon. So maybe that's more of an artifact. And then we could say, we could cut shield provisions and dagger provisions because they do kind of throw the balance off. Luck and boots could be... But luck and armor could be like... Could be that one. Things you lose armor to get shield provisions. Okay. Other artifact procs. Because then, like, yeah, you have that one gaining armor for doing stuff, and then yeah, like, because there's each of these factions seems to have a kind of fairly redundant weapon. Although what it is a high damage weapon that doesn't come with the benefit of the elemental effect. Because this is a lightning sword. This is a fire sword. This is an ice sword. Like these are just fun things you could add to the game, but maybe this is perhaps in the territory of like DLC or sequel or something like that. Like I don't know if it's that necessary to the game, based on like how much time I have, and you know, my producer head is saying nah. But so weapons which do more damage based on armor. Okay. So that's armor. And then balance, vengeful chicken. Let's just address these. Because I just want to knock things off the list. Cut Banshee Cry. Did I do that already? I think I already did that. Oh no, we still have Banshee Cry. Because that counts as a debuff. So what would the other weapon of the Banshee be? So basically, banshees have a big area of effect debuff effect, which is kind of an odd balancing one. So the banshee ghosts and icicle and zombie, so like let's keep it for now. Banshee cry. It's like means that that's a debuff, but it's not so powerful anymore because flat debuffs don't really do a lot anymore. So I'm gonna leave that because I just don't have a better idea. Like, what else could we give it? Banshee. Yeah, no, let's leave that on. Okay, yeah, we need to say construct character. So where is that called? Yeah, so that is something we've accepted that's going to tank the game, but I don't want to do a game object.find. If so if ally container dot find character dot name, will that find? Okay, yeah. If character dot find, if I look at names. Return. Hopefully that doesn't tank performance. Archie Ultimate. Okay, so test. Nerf Dushatar's one. That should be easy. And we'll just work that out. Beans for level up rerolls. Knocking little bits off the list. This connects with this. Yes. So that shouldn't be too difficult to do. So yeah, it's as simple. Let's move it up. Bloody snapping. Just move it. So where is it now? 0.34. Let's put it at 0.5. Let's see if that looks weird. And then we do a run of special effect of sound effects. Make the levels. Oh, I'm feeling a bit overwhelmed by how much shit I have to do to make this game work. Or not to make it works, but just to, you know, get it as good as it can be. Talents applied to existing units. Oh, that might be a bit ambitious, but yeah, it should happen. Now that we've tidied up the applying talents code a bit better. And the thing is, can apply it. So yeah, apply it to all inactive character containers, and then apply it on construct character. So that basically instead of applying talents every time a unit is spawned, we apply talents every time. Oh yeah, and is update buffs tanking frame rate. Oh god, yeah. Yeah, we've got some big bad boys here. Yeah, I think it's nicer if it appears around the character. Oh dear, oh dear. I mean, it's not too bad, and then of course we've got the whole story to do, and then we've got all of the like skill trees to do. So we just got like a whole bunch of shit to do. Jesus. Okay, but it's not too bad because like the story's going to be quick. Like I just need to write the dialogue, write the scenes, make some little cutscenes and whatnot, and it's not going to be too bad. But let's just go through like in order. So update key out to pick with no yet, and then armor update. So how would this work? So each character would have a certain amount of armor. So we say max HP, max mana, speed. Let's go public float max armor equals 10 by default. No, 0 by default. Ah, what have I done? Like, there's just so many things I can do, and I don't know which one I should do first. But I'm thinking of... do you want me to get Cyrus? Well, yeah, I've got to go get my son from nursery. So I'll be back at 1 o'clock, and we're going to do... So I'll probably do armor. I just want to get this shit off the list. I don't care which order. And I'm a bit overwhelmed by how many things I've got on this list and all the different things I have to do. I just want to get them. Alright, so yeah. Hold on, I'll be right back. Babe? Babe? Okay, looks like my wife's going to get my son. But I'm kind of burnt out anyway. Need a bit of a break. And yeah, well, let's just start on this armor thing. So how would we add armor? And the other thing I kind of want to do is improve the HP bar. I want to do that thing where you get little, I don't know what to call them, like grooves on the HP bar, so you can tell at a glance how much HP something has. So we go prefabs, character container, oh, and mustn't forget Ultimania effect. That's programming. So we have, yeah, it's just I'm looking at all of these things I want to change, and I have to think about like which ones do I want to do and which ones are not worth my time, because I could sit here forever min-maxing things and changing things. But I think the armor thing is cool, so I definitely want that. I do want that. I at least want to try it, and I think it will be something I keep. And yeah, I don't think there's any of these things which are like too dependent on the others. So I want to just kind of get on with them. Like it doesn't. There's none which I should do first or whatever, you know. So I just need to attack this in any order and just make this list smaller and smaller, and then it'll be easier to think about. Damage increased by armor. Yeah. So yeah, what am I looking at? So we would have armor slider bar. Let's just see where that would sit next to mana. Okay, mana's below, so yeah, armor makes perfect sense coming from above. these are all equidistant from each other. Yeah. Armor slider bar. This would be like grey. Although actually, I can just, while I've got my soldier, that's the colour it should be, because that's the colour of armour in this game. Okay. And then the segmentation, I mean, I guess that's a UI thing. But like essentially we would have like a little box, and yeah, switch off, as long as this is somewhere on the list, switch off ally HP bar when full, or is that necessary? So armor slider bar, so now characters have armor. Character container HP bar. It's going to throw up a lot of errors. Armor bar. And if I find all instances of HP bar, yeah, the HP bar, let's put this next to HP bar. Put these together, although this is happening after other stuff, so let's bring this down then. Yeah. When would HP bar be false? Yeah, okay, yes, we'll keep that because we may return it to false if HP bar, yeah. Okay, so here is where we would want to say if armor minus equals damage, then we'd have like float damage after armor. I don't know if this is the best way, but equals if armor is less than 0, damage after armor equals mathf dot abs damage after armor equals 0, HP minus equals damage after armor. Like that. Okay, and we won't worry about, because we're going to have things that like if armor minus equals damage, but then we could say if armor, and armor yeah, that's a buff at the moment, so we'll change that. If so be like if armor is greater than 0, if artifacts dot active, what is it, active gm dot c dot active artifacts dot contains dot, how do we check for an artifact? Okay, first or default. Is that the best way to do it? And what do we call this? Like thick armor. Then I prefer to multiply by 0.5 than divide by 2. Heal. So we would have one similar to this called I guess. Got to have a thing whenever you increase armor? No, so we don't need to know who the healer is, who the armorer is. So we would have a lot of similar stuff. I'll just copy this whole thing and then delete as necessary. So if HP is less than character.max HP. Okay, yeah, so if this is just for the artifacts. So we would delete that. Armor plus equals amount if armor is greater than character.max armor. We'll leave this for now. I'm not sure this is necessary actually. I haven't noticed it. Just doing this manually so I can examine as I go. Okay, yeah, HP bar.max value, and then this would go for armor as well. And the thing is, like, even if I don't go ahead with this change, this code isn't redundant. Like, I can just keep it. And then what's this? Losing a buff. So yeah. We'll just do this for now, although I think this code's going to change. Because this should happen on spawn. Ah, but it would happen after these buffs apply. Okay, yeah, we're going to have to think about that. Okay, this is turning on the mana bar. Is that right? Hello, little boy.
I want to make the spaceship.
You want to make this spaceship, but we have to have lunch.
I have to make the spaceship.
And then I have to do some more work.
I have to make the spaceship.
And then at 5 o'clock we can... You want to do the spaceship?
Yeah. I want to do the spaceship.
I'm sure some of this is redundant.
I want to do some spaceship. I want to do the spaceship.
Especially because I could probably copy a lot of this.
Come, Daddy, come here. Come, I want you to come here. Come downstairs. Come downstairs.
Okay, I'll come in a bit. All right. Well, yeah, I'll be. Well, actually, I kind of want to finish this. No, I've got 3 more. So, HP bar, and this is make item burst. Make item burst. Make item burst. Almost done. I'm sure some of that code is redundant. Okay, well, yeah, I'll be back at 1. So thanks for joining, and I'll be, I think, programming armor. So cheers, thanks for everyone who joined. I think I got a new subscriber, which makes my day. So thanks very much for that. And I'll be back at 1. Cheers, bye.